There's laughing, she's smiling, she's beautiful. They're buying alcohol for a date night at home. Very playful, very happy.
They noticed a half-naked body lying in the road.
There was a laceration to the head, and there was a significant pool of blood. And there was a bottle of alcohol on scene. I saw that it was uncorked. It was next to her.
Was this murder, or was this an accident?
Kat belonged to a members-only type of website service. She was a beautiful woman, and one of the ways that she made money was selling pictures of herself.
It's one of the dangers of having a following on the internet. There are bad followers out there.
She was a great mother. They focus on her risky endeavors online, and she was so much more than that.
Looking at the video, everything looks great. It's sad to think that these are her final moments.
Perfect place to raise a family.
Kat was a very special person, and her energy was magnetic. Everybody was drawn to her.
Jeff was a very nice guy. He was very approachable and super sweet. It seemed like a match made in heaven.
Kat and Jeff have been together for nearly 15 years, and it's clear why Jeff fell for his wife.
Kat was beautiful inside and out. She captivated the audience the minute she walked in the door. She had a banging body, her makeup done all the time. Kat was hot.
Kat and I met as teenagers. She had this little Pontiac Fiero that I thought was really cool. She would pick me up and we would spend time with friends and go to the beach. We just did what most suburban kids do.
After high school, Kat surprises her friends when she takes a job in a club working as an exotic dancer.
She bought a condo in Tampa when she was 21 and began a relationship that she told me took her down a dark road, and she developed some bad habits, and it was not a healthy relationship the way she described it.
But when Kat turns 29, a chance encounter turns her life around. She meets Jeff West, a recruiter for the Army, and it's love at first sight.
They met in 2004 at a Super Bowl party. She just described him as a really sweet guy, and he was the person that she had sort of been waiting for, and the answer to her dreams and her knight in shining armor. Her life changed.
With Jeff in her life, Kat stops dancing, and after 4 months of dating, the couple marries. A year later, in 2005, the couple welcomes a baby girl, Logan, into the family.
Kat was a great mom. Yeah, she adored her daughter.
She would always rant about how Jeff was a great dad. They were very family-oriented, and you could see it.
In 2014, Kat and Jeff settle down in the small town of Calera, Alabama.
They moved to Alabama because both of their families lived there, and they wanted to be close to the grandparents.
They bought a big house. Jeff retired out of the military, and they had a great family life.
Jeff finds work as a campus police officer at a local college, while Kat is a stay-at-home mom. But the fun-loving couple still finds time to let loose.
She was the life of the party. That was her role. She loved it.
Friends love to follow Kat's life through her fun posts on social media.
It seemed like she was in a really good spot. She was very happy in the place that she always wanted to be.
January 12th, 2018. Kat and Jeff are heading out for a date night.
They drop their daughter off at her grandparents' house, and they were going to have a good night.
Kat's parents and her daughter have no idea that this is the last time they will see her. In the early morning hours of January 13th, 2018, a 911 call comes into the Calera Police Department.
Around 5 a.m., a young woman living in the neighborhood noticed a half-naked body lying in the road.
The neighbor calls 911, and Calera Police Department rushes officers to the scene.
When they got there, they saw a female body and nothing but a pink bra.
The body is half in the road and half in the grass.
There was blood around her, and there was a bottle of absinthe right next to her as well.
Here in Alabama, the coroner's job is to go out on the scene, determine what the cause and manner of death is. She was a blonde female, very petite, maybe 30s, 40s. There was a laceration to the head, and there was a significant pool of blood. Also, looking around scene, we noticed that there was a cell phone on scene. There was a bottle of alcohol on scene. We saw that it was uncorked. It was next to her, but the bottle was kind of leaning up against the phone at an odd angle. So that was odd to all of us.
The bottle and cell phone are collected for testing as investigators look for evidence to help identify the victim and explain what happened to her.
There's a myriad of scenarios that are playing through your head. At face value, this looks like it was just an accident. Maybe they had walked down the street and they were hit by a car or hit their head. Was she pushed down? Was this done by somebody?
As police examine the scene, a local resident tells officers they recognize the woman as their neighbor, Kat West, and points out her home right across the street. As detectives approach the home, they see that the door is open. Jeff West appears in the doorway.
The detective could tell that he was visibly shaken.
The investigators gently begin to interview the distraught man.
He had started to kind of detail their previous date night.
They go to dinner, and after, they didn't want the night to end, so they stopped at the liquor store, bought a bottle of absinthe, and went home and continued the night. She's changed, she's in something more comfortable. He's taken photos of her, and it seemed like the night was going well for the two of them.
Jeff tells the investigators that he and Kat returned home around 9 p.m., and he had shared some photos from their fun night together on social media, including one of the bottle of absinthe they were drinking.
He told police officers that he was tired, his leg was hurting, he went to bed in the downstairs bedroom around 10:30 p.m., and he also told them that his wife wasn't ready to put an end to the night at that time.
Jeff tells the detectives much of the night is muddled in his memory, but it was the sound of the police sirens that woke him up, right before they came up to his door.
After a couple of drinks, sometimes you don't remember, or if you do remember, everything isn't so clear.
At this point, you really have no leads as to really what happened, who did it, and where to even start.
The question then has to be asked, was this murder or was this an accident?
Jeff was the last person with her, so I mean, at that point, it makes him the first suspect.
Detectives discover images of Kat West's final moments.
This is the last time we saw Kat West alive. She looks smiley, cheek to cheek. The two of them are walking through the store.
And the more they learn about their victim, the more complex the case becomes.
She had 50,000 followers across social media accounts.
Kat was too friendly on occasion. Kat was too welcoming. And I feel that probably could have backfired at some.
Detectives trying to unravel how Kat West died are interviewing her husband, Jeff, who tells them his memories of the previous night are hazy. After a night of drinking, he says he went to bed, while Kat continued to party.
This couple went to have dinner and drinks. They went to a liquor store. They went home to drink more. So I think it's more than fair to say alcohol had an influence in what recounting these events looked like.
But as the interview goes on, Jeff does admit he remembers one other thing about the night.
Jeff told officers that he was a little aggravated that she was looking at her phone too much.
He told police officers that he felt like she was not paying attention to him. He threw her phone outside, and he went to bed. He was off. Jeff told officers she could have went outside, fell as she was trying to get her phone, or it wasn't unlike her to go outside in the middle of the night after drinking and jump on the trampoline.
If she was jumping on the trampoline, which was in their yard, we would have seen a trail of blood. The police department had to rule that out.
Maybe she got too intoxicated and walked outside, tripped and fell and hit her head, and nobody knew about it. They were both intoxicated. Maybe he had passed out before she had come back.
Didn't remember what had happened. He woke up with the dogs barking and his door open. The cops were at his door. I was shocked. He was worried about his daughter and getting life moving forward without his wife, her mom, Kat being in the picture.
The coroner's report comes in the next day, January 14th. It doesn't give the detectives the clarity they are hoping for.
Forensics came back with the autopsy report, and it was determined that she died from blunt force trauma to the head.
So the skull was cracked. Someone struck her in the head, and she ultimately died from brain swelling. Looking at her laceration, it was about 2.5 inches long. It was on the side of her head, just a few inches from the top of the head. Where she had the laceration, it's almost impossible to get by falling down, and there was nothing out there for her to hit her head on. So we knew that did not happen. We know some kind of tool was used that was blunt, did not have a sharp edge on it. And the main thing that was in the vicinity that could have caused that was the bottle of alcohol.
There was a bottle of absinthe next to her that had a small chip in the base of it.
So the liquor bottle is very heavy. If you strike someone with that type of glass, it will not break. And there was some blood smears on the bottle that were Kat's blood. I think someone struck her with the bottle. So you think, what happened? Did somebody come in? Was this just a stranger in the night, or she, by happenstance, end up with somebody on the street?
The only fingerprints analysts find on the liquor bottle are either Kat's or Jeff's. But detectives know that doesn't prove anything, because the couple shared the bottle earlier in the evening. Although the coroner's report doesn't point to Jeff West as a suspect, the detectives feel it doesn't rule him out either.
The last person she was seen with was her husband, so you start to think, well, is there something that we missed? Is there something that we could press further on with him?
So the investigators start digging deeper into Jeff's story about the night his wife died. They visit the liquor store where the couple stopped before returning home.
You go to the liquor store, ask the employee that was on shift that night if they had seen them in there, pull security footage to verify.
But when investigators view the footage, what they find is the opposite of a couple on the verge of a violent conflict.
You can see Kat West. This is the last time we saw Kat West alive. The two of them are walking through the store. She looks smiley, cheek to cheek. Jeff West slaps her butt. It honestly leaves you with more questions than it does answer any of what might have happened.
Detectives suspect Kat West's husband, Jeff, may be involved in her mysterious death, but have no proof. They're examining Jeff's story about what the couple did earlier on the night Kat died, and have discovered surveillance video from the liquor store he says the couple stopped in. The video includes the final images of Kat alive.
Looking at the video, everything looks great.
The two of them just wrapped up a date night, seemingly having a nice time, flirting with each other in the liquor store.
It was funny when I saw it. He pats her butt. And I kind of chuckled because that's who he was. He loved his wife. He loved the way she looked.
There's laughing, she's smiling, she's beautiful, and they're buying alcohol for a date night at home. Everything appears to be normal, very playful, very happy. And it's sad to think that these are her final moments.
This final moment of her in the liquor store, that's who they were. That's who they are. They're good people, and she didn't deserve it.
The footage seems to corroborate Jeff's story that he and Kat are simply enjoying a fun night out. Detectives don't believe the images show him acting like a husband who will kill his wife in a few hours.
It looks like his entire story checked out, and that they did indeed have a fun night together, and that was it. There's no reason we should list him as a suspect.
Kat's friends are equally convinced that whatever happened to her, Jeff isn't to blame.
He never seemed overbearing. Like, I never heard them argue or anything. They just had an interesting relationship, but it seemed like in a really good way.
I don't think there's a harmful bone in Jeff West's body. I've never seen Jeff be an angry person. I've never seen him act in anger.
Although the coroner could not determine the exact cause and manner of Kat's death, investigators suspect foul play. And with Jeff now considered less likely to have been involved, the search is on for other potential suspects.
She has a laceration to the head from blunt force trauma, so we were thinking there is something nefarious about this death.
The other side of the investigation that you have to look at is who is Kat West. You try to find any information you can on her. Is she cheating on her husband? Does she have any enemies? We've got to look at all sides of this.
When investigators dig into Kat's internet history, they learn that she has a massive online presence.
Kat had a lot of friends online. You know, I keep my friends on Facebook, just my friends that I know. Kat had thousands of friends on Facebook because anybody that would add her, she would add. I think that's what kept Kat on her phone all the time, was that she was always talking to people online. When Kat got hundreds of likes for a photo, that's a dopamine boost.
But the investigation also leads to a concerning discovery about Kat's online life. She wasn't only active on mainstream social media sites.
One of the things that came out was that Kat belonged to a members-only type of website service, that she would take pictures of herself in lingerie, maybe even provocative type poses, and was selling pictures of herself.
She had over 50,000 followers on her page who loved to purchase photos of her. She would model herself as Marilyn Monroe and went by the name Kitty Kat West.
She had told me that she sold her photos online, and she showed me a couple of them. I was shocked to see what I saw. They were revealing in nature. They showed her butt, her boobs, cute poses, lingerie, and people would ask for more, and they would have to pay some more money to get more. She was open about it, and Jeff knew it.
the adult stuff that she was doing online. It surprised me at first, but I think it probably filled a void for her, or it gave her some validation that she might have been craving.
Detectives realized that any one of Kat's 50,000 plus followers could have taken an online fantasy about Kat too far.
As a woman, when you are beautiful and you are showcasing yourself to these people, having a lot of followers like that, some of them may think they know you. Some of them might try to find where you live or where you frequent. There are bad followers out there. It's one of the dangers of having a following on the internet.
Kat was too friendly on occasion. Kat was too welcoming. I think Kat could have gotten herself into some sticky situations, and I feel that probably could have backfired at some point.
There were questionable comments that raised an eyebrow for investigators.
Did one of these followers go rogue and stalk her, come and find her? You have to take that into account.
Into the death of Kat West has taken an alarming turn after investigators discover her photos on an adult website with thousands of subscribers, any one of them a potential suspect.
You see this blonde bombshell. She is in her 40s. She is a hot mom, and she had 50,000 followers across social media accounts.
News of Kat's online activities clouds the investigation in another way, as it quickly grabs headlines in her suburban Alabama home.
It took off so quickly, before we could even fathom it. You know, it's on all these news outlets.
I was a digital content producer at a news station in Birmingham at the time. In Alabama, it's conservative, it's the Bible Belt. A woman like Kat West, being a cam girl or an online selling nude photos, that is not your typical mother in this town. And it raised a lot of eyebrows.
There was a lot of victim blaming that she somehow contributed to her death. Her background of what she did was frowned upon. Obviously, her drinking was frowned upon. The community, they don't want to believe that this happens in Calera.
Just because she took those beautiful pictures, she was much more than that. They don't talk about how she was a great mother. They focus on her online stuff, her risky endeavors online. And she was so much more than that.
Investigators begin digging into Kat's vast pool of online followers, searching for anyone who might raise a red flag.
I've seen some of the comments online. They're not necessarily the nicest sounding people. I can't imagine what was in her inbox. I'm sure it was pretty graphic.
Calera Police Department did a fantastic job and took their time to go back to her website to find out who was subscribing and literally check out every one of her subscribers.
You've got 50,000 followers to sift through and try to see if there's any case to be made on that.
But after 2 weeks of digging, investigators cannot find anyone among her online subscribers who might have been in the area the night Kat died.
Those people were ultimately ruled out and not considered suspects in this case.
Detectives are back to square one with no suspects. As they review their case, given the new information about Kat's online site, they can't help but wonder whether they dismissed her husband, Jeff, too quickly.
Kat West taking nude photos and selling them online also raises the question, how did her husband feel?
But investigators discover that once again, there's nothing to support suspicion of Jeff.
She wasn't living a double life. Jeff, he was very aware of it. Even her parents knew about it. His parents knew about it. So it wasn't a secret.
There had to be someone behind the camera taking those photos. And sure enough, it was Jeff.
He's in adoration of Kat and posting how hot she is, and so at that point you're really not considering him as a suspect as much as you were before.
He didn't seem to mind at all. In fact, at one point Jeff told me, that's how she makes her money and makes herself feel good. That's fine.
So from there, you just go back to the drawing board, right?
When detectives go back to their case file, they discover something curious, something they believe deserves a closer look.
The Wests had an ADT security system at their home, and that provided some telling information. It had a log of when their front door opened and closed.
So by Jeff's story, he went to bed at 10:30 that night, but when they checked his security, that's where they started finding out that the timelines of the events that he described, they weren't exactly matching up.
His ADT system showed the front door opened at 1:51 a.m. and stayed open for more than 4 hours past that point. The times in which that front door had opened was also past the time Jeff West said he went to sleep. It could have been his wife, it could have been Jeff, but we don't know that.
Let's not forget that it's January and the door is wide open. If you slept even a few hours with the door wide open, your home is cold. You wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, the door is open. I need to figure out, why is my door open?
The confusing data from the house security system causes investigators to once again take a look at Jeff West. And their new suspicions lead to a warrant for his cell phone records.
He told police officers he went to bed at 10:30, but his phone logged that he had been moving around past the time he told officers he went to bed.
According to the fitness history on his phone, a short time after 11 p.m., he had taken 18 steps.
The data from the phone and the door opening and closing were not exactly matching what he was telling them.
And some of the text messages with his wife found on Jeff's phone are troubling to investigators.
Looking at some of the text, it was obviously not a relationship that was perfect. She felt that he wanted to leave her. There were multiple texts with this back and forth of, should we split up? Should we stay together? She's telling him, I know you're scared to tell me if you don't want to be with me, but it's hurting me by lying. There were some fundamental issues wrong in the relationship, and the text just kind of highlighted those. All the way leading up to her death, they had these texts going on.
When investigators learn that Jeff is apparently not telling the truth about the timeline of his movements that night, they start to question everything else he has told them.
There are still a lot of holes and gaps into what really happened that night. But at that point, there was no other person of interest, there was no other suspect. It was Jeff West and Jeff West only that was being looked at as the murderer of his wife.
Investigators in Calera, Alabama have found evidence that contradicts Jeff West's story about his actions on the night his wife, Kat, died. After ruling him out earlier, the detectives are now again looking at him as a potential suspect.
Jeff had said that they had gone out on date night. They had come back home. They had taken pictures for her social media. They were in an argument about the phone because she was on her phone quite a bit. And he had gone to sleep and didn't know where she was.
He said his leg was hurting from a former injury he sustained in the Army, and so he went to bed, and Kat stayed up from there.
Detectives know the data from the West's home alarm system and from the fitness tracker app on Jeff's phone appear to contradict that. But Jeff is sticking with his original story.
He told police officers, how does anybody know the exact moment they went to bed? What's the difference between 10:30 and 11:15? If alcohol was involved, if someone asks you to the minute when you went to bed last night, are you able to have an accurate answer?
With Jeff now firmly in their sights, detectives go back and review all of the evidence. That includes obtaining the original 911 call from the neighbor who found Kat's body. When they listen to the full recording, they discover it contains a critical clue.
When she called 911, she asked had anybody already called this in, because across the street, she could see a man pacing in his home and the door was wide open.
This statement contradicts what Jeff West told police officers, and that was that he was awoken to the sound of sirens, which were not there yet.
Jeff's whole story seems to be falling apart. Next, the investigators conduct a careful re-examination of the evidence found near Kat's body. They realize there may be an explanation for some of the unusual things they noticed there.
We did see a cell phone on scene. There was a bottle of alcohol on scene. And it is weird that the bottle was kind of leaning up against the phone at an odd angle. You would think if you were intoxicated that the bottle would be just randomly down on the ground, not propped on the phone.
If Jeff was involved in his wife's death, they wonder, could he have staged the scene, trying to make it look like an accident? But it's when they re-examine Jeff's fingerprints on the absinthe bottle, previously dismissed because he was known to have held it earlier in the night, that the loudest alarms are set off.
The location of the fingerprints on the bottle of absinthe wouldn't be if you were to just grab a bottle. They were positioned if you were holding it upside down by the neck.
Detectives realize this could be because Jeff was holding the bottle of absinthe as a weapon. And they now put together a theory of what they believe happened the night Kat died.
Probably Kat was on her phone and that irritated him, and Jeff threw her phone outside. And then afterwards they took pictures and she only had the bra on. And obviously something went wrong. Probably her asking where my phone is. And she went out to find the phone. He followed her out there and things escalated. I think he initially struck her with the bottle. She fell and probably lost consciousness at the time. And he walked back to the house. And as she regained some type of consciousness, she moved around in the grass and kind of pulled herself to the curb. She was in a fetal position, but probably because she was cold. She was just clothed in a pink bra, no other clothes.
Afterwards, the investigators theorize Jeff tried to cover up his crime by staging Kat's cell phone and the bottle next to her.
Obviously, there are some holes in the story, and as it progressed, the holes became bigger. So about 5 weeks after the cat was found on the street, Jeff was arrested for her death.
Despite having only circumstantial evidence, on February 23, 2018, police charged Jeff West with murder. Jeff continues to insist he did not kill his wife, and many people believe he is telling the truth.
Kat West's family, her parents, her friends, all sided with Jeff West. They immediately said that he didn't do it. They loved each other and they had this marriage that was so beautiful. And although they argued here and there, like that's just marriage. That's what comes with it.
When I first found out, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, Jeff? Jeff hit her with a bottle?
I would have never pegged Jeff to be harmful in any way. I was in disbelief that Jeff would have killed Kat.
The evidence is counterintuitive to what I knew about her and Jeff.
Hoping to avoid a lengthy trial with an outcome they can't be certain of, prosecutors make Jeff an offer.
He was offered a plea deal from the prosecution for time served plus 2 years probation. He turned that down.
So you're turning down that for possibly spending years in prison. It made you wonder, is he really innocent? Maybe he didn't do it.
Jeff West's trial for the murder of his wife Kat outside their Calera, Alabama home is set to begin on November 17th, 2020.
Jeff was offered a plea deal where he would serve time at a lesser charge. He would get out of jail earlier, prison earlier, but he did not want to do that. He wanted to pursue a jury trial and still maintain his innocence.
I was shocked when Jeff didn't take the plea deal, but I understood why. If that's your story and you're sticking to it, why would you take the plea deal?
Prosecutors argue that Kat's death was not an accident. That Jeff West bludgeoned her to death with an alcohol bottle following an argument.
The most damning testimony that was given was the medical examiners, who said that she could not have died by falling.
Prosecutors present jurors with the home alarm data and information from Jeff's fitness tracker suggesting he lied about his actions on the night of Kat's death. They display the texts showing a troubled marriage. And they showed the video of Jeff and Kat purchasing the murder weapon, a bottle of absinthe. But Jeff's lawyers counter that the investigation was not able to prove that the bottle was in fact used to kill Kat.
When Jeff West's attorneys were presenting the case to the jurors, they were saying, we don't have a murder weapon. We don't have a motive. These two were in love. It's not Jeff West.
After a week of testimony, both sides rest their cases.
When the jurors went to deliberate, I thought it could go either way.
The jury's options were murder, manslaughter, or innocent. I thought that they were either going to pick one of the extremes, that he killed her with intent or that he didn't at all. The jury came back after their deliberations and read their verdict. Jeff West was guilty of reckless manslaughter.
Jeff wasn't necessarily planning for this to happen. They had gone out, they had gotten drunk, they had gotten disgruntled about something and maybe gotten into an argument. It wasn't premeditated murder, it was more of a reckless killing.
To see them fall in that middle ground, that he was responsible for killing her but did not intend to, was interesting because that wasn't a story told by the prosecution or the defense. The defense is over here saying he didn't do it at all. The prosecution is saying he did and he meant to. The jury decided neither of those narratives held true. Jeff West was sentenced to 16 years.
Though Jeff West sits behind bars, for many, questions about his guilt still linger.
I think Calera PD saw online double life, jealous husband, crazy guy, and he killed her. But there are lots of other avenues that could have happened that night that I don't feel were investigated well enough.
I don't think justice was served in the case because I don't think it was proven beyond a reasonable doubt. But that doesn't mean he didn't do it.
The thing I miss most about Kat is her glowing attitude. She was always there as a friend. She could cheer you up any time of day, just a sweet person. She's gone way too soon, just way too soon.
She had just a glow about her. She had a spark, you know? She's just one of them people that you never forget.
I got to say goodbye to Kat and Jeff when they were leaving to Alabama. And I remember giving her a huge hug, and she was happy to be going home. And
March 10th, 2005. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Brian Barton's last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to him. Brian Barton unexpectedly quits his band, and now he has disappeared.
I thought he set out to kill himself.
And recent events only heighten the mystery.
She came to him and asked him to join the battle of good and evil.
With each passing day, suspicion builds.
Someone in that band knows what happened, and they don't want to share it.
Did Brian Barton disappear to start a new life? Or was he the victim of foul play?
We don't know what happened. We just know we have our son missing, and it's just a tough life.
25-year-old Brian Barton has been playing guitar with his band called As Fate Would Have It for almost a year. Recently, things have started to take off.
I was starting to turn more into like a legit band, you know, and we started playing good shows.
In fact, the band has just won a local contest to perform at their biggest show ever, the Taste of Chaos Festival in Seattle.
Huge. I mean, talking like 6,000 people.
Brian went out and bought like brand new gear, like new amps, new pedals. He was totally stoked on it. He probably blew about, $2 or $3 grand on just pumping up his gear for this specific show.
Brian was very excited. You know, he almost didn't believe it.
Brian Barton was adopted as an infant by Maureen and J.B. Barton. Together with his brothers Stephen and Adam, Brian had a carefree childhood in Vista, California, just outside San Diego.
He was very, outgoing, liked to talk to people, and he was very happy, He just thought life was good and he had a good time.
But in 2001, when Brian was 21, he decided he needed a change. He and his best friend, John Krebs, packed up and moved north to Seattle, Washington, to test their skills in the city's vibrant music scene.
A lot of music comes out of Seattle, so figured it would be a good place to start and try something and see what happened.
The phrase I always remember is he said, "That's where the music scene is, Dad."
Brian was ready to move and get on and see what life held for him, so I was okay with it. Yes, my husband and I said, okay, fine, just keep in touch.
Over the next 4 years, Brian built a name for himself in the local punk rock scene and a serious relationship with his girlfriend, Rihanna Duvall.
Brian and I were always friends. I'd say a good, 4 years before we even started dating. So we really didn't have a courtship before we started dating. We just really jumped into it, fell in love really fast, and it was exciting.
The couple quickly decides to move in together. Their new townhouse apartment is in Federal Way, a suburb of Seattle.
In the beginning, when they were all super in love, they would always be in Brian's room, like just avoiding the outside world, just locked in there.
Brian seemed to be in love with Brianna. He called me a couple weeks before and he said, Mom, all I want is the wife, the kids, the house, the white picket fence.
He proposed 6 months into the relationship, and that was it.
Everything in Brian's life seems to be on track. But by early 2005, Brian's relationship with Brianna, now his fiancée, begins to falter.
Brian and Brianna's relationship was interesting. Definitely had their good times. But there was definitely times where he would be kind of concerned. He was always wondering if she was flirting with the other guys, stuff like that.
According to his bandmates, Brian's relationship problems start to create some tension in the band.
Brian would come to practice upset about this or that, or some argument that they had, and he'd stop practice to go talk on the phone and settle whatever problem was going on at the time.
He really liked her, you know, but she was kind of like young party girl, you know what I mean? Like, you know, not ready to be tied down.
In early March, just 1 week before Brian goes missing, his relationship with Brianna seems to reach its tipping point. Brian's band is playing a show at a bar in nearby Tacoma, and at one point in the night, Brian sees Brianna talking to another guy.
We played the show, and there's like one of her like guys, you know, like this guy that she was friends with, you know, but probably a little too friendly for his comfort level.
Brian immediately approaches Brianna and the friend.
Came up to him and kind of got in his face. Then I was kind of like trying to get in between too, like, because I was expecting Brian to throw a blow at him.
Basically caught her trying to hang out with some other guy, so those two were just getting volatile.
Over the next few days, the argument seems to affect Brian deeply.
After that show, Brian started acting strange.
I mean, it was like his personality changed. I mean, and I think his friends were even aware of that.
He just kind of started moping around a little bit more. He just wasn't as happy as he was. It seemed like he needed a change.
Brian seems to be struggling, trying to make a decision about his relationship with Brianna.
The day after the show at the Shipwreck, he came to our house and he was talking to me and my roommates about how he wanted to break up with Brianna. He seemed pretty upset, and we just kind of tried to talk to him and just make him comfortable and happy. And that's really only what our concern was at that time.
On Tuesday, March 8th, the conflict with Brianna comes to a head.
I was at work and he called me, and it sounded to me like he had had a long discussion with his friends, and he came to the conclusion that we just weren't right together. And we had just moved into that townhome, and I thought that we were on a different part of our relationship. And so it was pretty shocking.
To Brian's bandmates, however, the decision seems like a wise one.
I was relieved because Brian was relieved. That stress, that burden was off his shoulders, and you could tell that he was lighter because of it. And so I thought it was all said and done.
But in reality, Brian is already questioning his decision about Brianna.
He's like, yeah, I got rid of this girl, but like, I miss her, you know what I mean?
The next evening, on March 9th, Brianna stays home, hoping to patch things up with Brian.
I was beside myself. I was sitting drinking alone, hoping that he would show up and we can discuss it.
When Brian gets home, he and Brianna have a long talk, and they decide to give it another try. A few hours later, Brian calls Dylan, the bass player of his band, and makes a shocking announcement.
He called me and talked to me, he said he wanted to quit the band, and I was like, why? He's trying to say, well, I just don't like the music, but then like the day before, he was just saying it was the best band he was ever in.
Dylan is angry that Brian quit the band, but Brianna is simply confused. According to her, the band was a positive part of Brian's life.
It was bizarre to me because he had just bought all this equipment, and they were talking about going to California and going on some tour, and it was a really cool opportunity, so it was confusing.
To the band, however, it seems clear what has happened.
He chose her over the band.
It was totally over, and then all of a sudden they were back, totally teamed up and against the world.
Later that night, Brian still appears agitated, and then, with Brianna next to him, he makes a strange phone call to his best friend, John Krebs. Brian puts the call on speakerphone so Brianna can hear.
When Brian called us that day, he sounded very neurotic. He was not himself. It sounded like he was trying to get us to say something bad about her so she could hear it come out of our mouths, and he would have a reason not to be friends with us.
Brianna is further confused by Brian's strange and erratic behavior.
I mean, it was almost like a setup. It was really bizarre because he's loyal to his friends. He almost wanted me to hear that it's because of them that we broke up, or I don't know. It was bizarre.
Just hours after quitting his band, Brian now tells his friends that he has come to another decision, that he essentially wants to break all ties with them.
He didn't want to hang out with us or see us or, have anything to do with us anymore. And the phone got passed around the room for a couple hours with everyone just trying to calm him down.
His friends think that between the pressures of his band and his relationship, he might be on the verge of a breakdown.
Like, everything is just adding up, and it's just like Brian holding the world. It was just getting too heavy for him.
By the end of the night, Brian seems emotionally drained.
I think he felt alone. He was quiet. He stayed to himself. He slept on the couch and I slept upstairs.
But Brian and Brianna have one last conversation before they go to sleep.
He was crying and just beside himself, but it was something about, I don't think the world understands how much evil is out there, but how many good people still exist.
The next morning, Brianna feels hopeful that Brian's agitation may be subsiding.
So the morning of March 10th, I came downstairs and I saw that he had already gone to work, and I felt good about that. And I was off to work myself.
At Brianna's suggestion, Brian makes an appointment to see a counselor at 4 p.m. that day to talk about his anxieties.
So I was at work, and I called him. He was still at work, and he expressed to me that he was nervous about this counseling appointment. And I said, well, that's natural, and I'm proud of you for, making this move in your life. I think it's going to be really positive. He thanked me for always being there for him. And I said, of course, I love you, and that was it. He didn't say goodbye.
Brianna doesn't know it, but this is the last time she will speak to Brian Barton before he disappears. Coming up, Brianna remembers an ominous conversation she had with Brian just a week earlier about a guardian angel.
But she came to him and asked him to join the battle of good and evil. And I asked him, how would that happen? And he said I would have to.
As fate would have it, was about to play the biggest show of their career. Brian should have been savoring the moment, but instead, he unexpectedly quits the band. Now, he's gone to see a counselor at his fiancée Brianna's urging.
I think he struggled with more things than we're aware of, and he just didn't show that vulnerability to anybody.
At 5 p.m., right as his appointment is scheduled to end, Brianna calls Brian to see how things went. But he does not pick up.
I called, and his phone just went to voicemail.
Immediately concerned, Brianna leaves work early and heads home.
And I saw his truck was there, and I was like, oh good, he is home, He is home.
But when Brianna goes inside the apartment, Brian is nowhere to be found.
So I'm calling people, I'm not highly concerned at this point until like an hour or two has passed. And that's when I was like, okay, well, his truck's out there. And I went and I opened up the truck, and that's where I saw his keys and his cell phone shut off. It was as if he was sitting in his truck and just sat it down.
Growing increasingly distressed, Brianna searches the rest of the apartment for any other sign of Brian.
But then I went upstairs and saw his clothes there, and those were his regular work clothes, and his wallet was in there.
When Brianna checks Brian's wallet, she is shocked by what she finds. Over $800 in cash.
This isn't normal for him. He doesn't leave his money behind. He doesn't leave his life behind like this. Something's going on.
Meanwhile, Brian's band is busy rehearsing for the big show a week later.
And we were just jamming, trying to figure out how we're gonna do this without Brian. Was Rusty gonna try to play guitar, or was I gonna play guitar?
The band is also trying to reach Brian.
We're gonna call him and just try to talk him into doing the show. You know what I mean? Yo, come on, let's just put our differences aside. We need to play the show.
But their calls, like Brianna's, go straight to Brian's voicemail.
We couldn't get a hold of him, and that was when Brianna called, freaking out, because she was all, Brian's stuff is all here, he's not here, I don't know where he is, can't get a hold of him, he's gone. So me and Ryan took off and went up to Federal Way and went looking for him. We got some flashlights, went, walked around the trails, drove around, there's a lot of little trails in the woods that are out there.
Back at the apartment, Brianna makes another disturbing discovery.
After I saw the wallet, I then was on a rant to see, okay, is everything really here, He He wore glasses and then contacts, and so the contacts weren't missing. But he was struggling with sleep, as I was, so we had a bottle of Tylenol PM, and that was missing.
Brianna suddenly realizes what the missing bottle could mean.
When I saw the missing bottle, I thought he had set out to kill himself.
She then remembers a disturbing conversation she had with Brian the week before.
We were laying in bed one night, and he just told me that his angel came to him. And I asked him, I was like, oh, that's a weird dream. And he said, no, she came to me. And I said, okay, that scared me. She was very real to him. But she came to him and asked him to join the battle of good and evil. And I asked him, how would that happen? And he said, I would have to die.
Brianna has not spoken to Brian since before his 4 o'clock counseling appointment. And now she fears he may have taken his own life. She calls her mother in a panic.
She didn't understand. I mean, it was confusing. She said, I think you need to call the police. And the police initially, they didn't want to file it as missing persons, and that wasn't even what I was wanting. You know, it's like, I just need someone to be aware that something's going on.
And while Brianna talks to the police, Dylan and Ryan continue to comb the woods. But they don't find Brian.
So we did that for the whole night, and then we went back to their apartment and stayed there for a night.
The next morning, there is still no sign of Brian, so Brianna calls Brian's parents to break the news. Brian's father, JB, gets the message from Brianna on their answering machine.
I didn't know what to do. I called my wife and told her, and I said, we need to go ahead and find out what's going on.
JB also calls the Federal Way Police to follow up on Brianna's original report.
And they essentially said, you know, he can go missing if he wants. He's allowed to do that.
Police tell the Bartons that they will look into the case and that all they can do for now is hope that Brian turns up. But back in Federal Way, Washington, Brian's friends are coming to their own conclusions. Rusty, the singer of the band, gets an unexpected call from Ryan, the other guitar player, who lived with Brian and Brianna.
He's like, well, I've been out here all night looking for him, and can't find him, and he left all of his stuff here. I think he's dead.
Rusty immediately questions Ryan's assumption.
My first thought is like, why would you automatically assume he was dead? Could have just gotten angry and, you know, spent the night at a motel or just slept under a rock or something.
Brianna, too, is hoping that Brian has simply walked away. She can even imagine what he might be thinking.
It's like, okay, I'm just going to get up and go. You know, maybe this life that I started to form here isn't what I wanted, and I'm just going to create a new one.
But as the weekend passes by with no word from Brian, it's harder and harder to believe there is a reasonable explanation for his disappearance.
We did pretty much everything we could that weekend to try to find him. I realized something was wrong when Sunday rolled around and I still hadn't heard anything.
Coming up, with no sign of Brian, his friends grow suspicious of each other.
I started to think that whatever happened that night, maybe some of my band members were involved in it, and that really freaked me out.
Has left behind all of his belongings and gone missing. Just before he disappeared, Brian had become extremely upset, breaking up with his fiancée Brianna and quitting his band. And now, his friends and family are left to wonder, did he take off or did he take his own life?
He had definitely come to his boiling point with his life. Something had to give.
Brian has been missing for 4 days. Police support officer Darlene Dale is the first investigator to screen the case, and right away, she takes note of the length of time Brian had been missing before Brianna reported it to police.
Normally, a person would be missing for 8, 10, 12, 24 hours. Then someone would report them missing, especially an adult.
But in this case, Brianna reported Brian missing after just a few hours. This unusual aspect of the report catches Officer Deo's attention.
A flag went off in my head, and I thought, something's wrong here. It just didn't seem to add up to me. It didn't seem like it was as straightforward as it could have been.
Her first move is to contact Brianna, who fills her in on the details of Brian's disappearance.
In Brian Barton's case, there were some really unique circumstances that appeared right off the bat. He left all of his possessions behind. He had cashed his paycheck, his wallet was full of money. Everything that he had was left at the apartment.
Officer Deo also calls the counselor Brian saw the day he disappeared.
And she said that when Brian came in, he was depressed, little he was sad, he was upset. His relationship with his girlfriend was off and on. And he brought up to her that, you know, because he was adopted, maybe that's why he has trouble with relationships.
But before Brian leaves the office, he apparently makes an ominous declaration to the counselor.
Now I know what I have to do. That was the last thing he said to her. Now I know what I have to do. And he left. And who knows what that means?
But as Officer Deo knows, it could simply mean walking away from his problems. According to friends, Brian often talked about leaving his life behind and becoming a drifter.
He talked more and more about, you know, like taking off and getting rid of it, of all of his problems.
His favorite saying was, you know, when time got hard, I'm just going to go to Mexico and grow bananas, you know. And he was a resourceful guy, and I wouldn't put it past him.
I have to admit, there was, in my mind, I thought, well, maybe he isn't, you know, missing forever. Maybe he has just wandered off.
And it wasn't just the pressures of the band and his relationship with Brianna that have been weighing on Brian. Even before the visit to the counselor, Brian had been bringing up the fact that he was adopted and that one day he would try to meet his biological mother, who lived in Florida.
He was toying with the idea of, hey, if I decide to contact my, you know, birth mother, would you go to Miami with me? And I said, of course, you know. And that was just a month before, and battling kind of the confusion beyond not wanting to hurt his adopted family, but wanting to know who he was.
Officer Deo must consider the possibility that Brian left everything behind to seek out his birth mother. But the idea that Brian just walked away seems far-fetched to some of his friends and family.
Would he leave? Would he do that to his family? Would he do that to his friends? Would he not contact anybody?
He needed people. He liked the people. I don't see how he could just drop everything. I don't think he could do that.
And when Maureen checks with the National Adoption Registry, it appears that Brian has not contacted his biological mother, which seems to rule out that theory. The other possibility, given Brian's strange behavior and the missing bottle of Tylenol PM, is that Brian took his own life. But according to Rusty, the singer of the band, Brian had expressed strong feelings against suicide.
Brian was a firm believer that if you commit suicide, you go to hell. Rotten hellfire.
Brian's brother Adam also believes suicide is unlikely.
You don't take your life if you have something else out there. He had his family, he had his friends down here. He had a lot.
And when Officer Deo talks to Poison Control, she discovers that the amount of Tylenol PM left in the bottle was not enough to kill Brian. With no physical evidence pointing to suicide or a voluntary disappearance, Officer Deo has little to go on. Brian Barton has now been missing for 10 days. His father, JB, and brother Adam have come to Seattle to help with the investigation. They begin by visiting Brian's apartment with Officer Deo. Immediately, Officer Deo senses that something is not right in the apartment.
The environment in that apartment, in Brian's apartment that day, you could feel the tension. You could feel the electricity in there. And the vibe or the feelings in there was just, something happened there.
Officer Deo begins scanning the room for clues.
Does it look like there's been a struggle? Is there anything maybe Anything on the wall, a mark on the wall, maybe blood, maybe a hole in the wall, anything that would just, indicate anything that might have gone wrong.
And then she notices something strange about the screen door, which is sitting off its tracks on the back porch.
The aluminum frame was bent probably about a 30-degree angle.
Suddenly, Officer Deo's investigation takes a turn.
When I saw the screen door in that condition in Brian's apartment, I thought a struggle had ensued. Something had occurred in that apartment.
Coming up, band members find themselves at the center of the investigation into Brian's disappearance.
Went from Brian being missing to now like I'm a suspect for murder. It was very intense.
Area for 10 days, but they haven't found a single sign of his whereabouts. Now, Officer Darlene Deo is visiting his apartment, and she thinks she may have stumbled on a major clue that might point to possible foul play.
And I noticed the screen door was bent and it was sitting on the patio. And I asked the young people in the room, the band members, hey, what happened to the door?
But according to Officer Deo, they can't offer a good answer.
I don't know. So, well, you guys live here. You don't know what happened to the door? I don't know. It was just like that, when we got home.
To Officer Deo, Brianna's and the bandmates' behavior is evasive and highly suspicious.
They didn't look at me directly. When they did, they couldn't hold that look for very long. It seemed that they were looking at someone sideways or behind me. At that time, I didn't know who that person was.
The person turns out to be Dylan Lorem, Brian's friend and the bass player of the band.
Now, he was rather nice to me for the most part, but he was sort of like, when you looked at other people around him, sort of like he commanded an era of, intimidation.
I felt that the band members, each individual I was speaking to, including Brianna, were checking with this guy. The warning flags were up and they were flying high, and I knew something had happened.
Officer Deo is convinced that the bandmates are hiding something.
I believe that all of Brian's friends and band members collaborated their stories in an effort to ward off law enforcement, ward off any detection, because those band members, some of them, maybe all of them, know exactly what happened to Brian. They just don't want to tell us about it.
But at this point, the police still don't have much to go on. The broken screen door alone is not sufficient evidence to name anybody a suspect. And Brian's family is beginning to lose hope that he is still alive.
I think for a long time I thought he would just come home. But then as things went on, I'm like, that, he wouldn't do this. Something has happened to him.
1 month has now passed since Brian went missing, and there are no new leads on the case. But then, one of the band members begins to grow suspicious.
I started to think that whatever happened that night, maybe some of my band members were involved in it. And that really freaked me out.
Rusty's suspicions force him to make a painful decision.
And that's why I quit the band.
According to Rusty, the other 3 band members become angry that he quit, which leads Dylan to post an ominous picture on a friend's MySpace page.
A picture that he had taken to glorify himself or send a message or whatever.
The picture is of Dylan, also known as Tank, holding a shotgun pointed directly at the camera. Dylan also makes a separate post that reads, "Rusty is ending my band. Ending him is my payback."
I started being afraid of my safety once I got the picture of Tank with the shotgun and all the threats. And that's when I contacted the detective.
Rusty takes the picture of Dylan to the Federal Way Police Department to show Officer Deo.
And you could tell this kid was scared. And I asked him why he would be scared. And he said, well, I left the band. And Dylan's mad. And I thought right away, Brian left the band. Was Dylan mad then? What happened?
But according to Dylan, the picture was just a harmless prank.
I mean, if I had really done something to Brian, would I just go and post up a picture like that the next day? It's absurd to me.
Still, Dylan's MySpace post only increases Officer Deo's suspicions.
Someone in that band knows what happened, and they don't want to share it. They don't want us to know. They don't want to suffer the consequences. But boy, Brian sure did, didn't he?
But without any physical evidence, Officer Deo's hunches lead nowhere. In May, the missing person case of Brian Barton is finally assigned to a detective at the Federal Way Police Department. But before Officer Deo turns over the reins, she gets a strange call from one of the band members.
I believe it was Ryan. Said he was moving out, and everyone boogied out of the apartment.
And as Ryan explains, he isn't the only band member with an itch to leave town. Apparently, Dylan has already moved to Los Angeles, just 2 months after his friend went missing. But according to Dylan, there's nothing suspicious about his move.
I went to LA because I had an offer from a friend to do some recordings. It was no secret I was going to LA. You know, I let everybody know. I told everybody, I told all the friends, you know what I mean? But it was not like, you know, I'm trying to escape from anything. It was, you know.
In fact, Dylan says he tried to call the Federal Way Police numerous times.
If somebody would have said, hey, Dylan, we need to question you, I would have been all like, okay, let's go. I wanted that, to be honest with you, because I wanted to, you know, give my side of the story.
But according to Dylan, no one at the police department will talk to him, and the accusations are starting to take their toll.
I started being very alienated, and, you know, like a lot of people I thought were my friends, you know, turned out not to be my friends. Went from Brian being missing to now, like, I'm a suspect for murder. It was very intense.
The detectives in charge of Brian's case are finally ready to ramp up the investigation, and they begin by bringing in potential suspects for questioning.
In this case, we really didn't have a suspect. We had more persons of interest. Brianna and Ryan and Dylan, everyone seemed to point us in the direction of those three as knowing who or what may have happened to Brian.
It was Dylan who had argued with Brian about quitting the band and posted threatening messages to Rusty. And even though Ryan and Brianna lived in the apartment with Brian, they were unable to tell Officer Deo how the screen door was damaged.
The first active step that I took is I went out and contacted his girlfriend, Brianna Duvall, and asked her if she'd come down station and do an interview.
Brianna is unprepared for the visit.
Came to my house and knocked on the door, and I was kind of in my pajamas and get yourself together, you're going to the police station right now. It was 5 a.m. They came and dragged me out of bed.
Detective Laird takes Brianna into a room at the police department headquarters, recording her interview on a hidden camera.
I told him what I told him, and I felt like it was okay, you know. But little did I know I was like one of the suspects, you know. I mean, and with no reason.
Brianna tells police again about the events leading up to March 10th.
2 days before Brian was missing, he broke up with me, quit the band, and then the day before he was missing, called his friends.
Detectives also interview Brian's friends and other bandmates, except for Dylan, who is still in LA.
My impression of Brianna, Ryan, and Dylan was that they all were kind of pointing fingers at each other as to what could have possibly happened to Brian. If something foul play had taken place, they felt that either Brianna had done it or Dylan and Ryan had probably done it.
In fact, some of Brian's other friends seem to point fingers at Dylan as well, if only because of his size.
When the police were interviewing us, one of the questions was if anyone could have killed Brian, who could it have been?
Would you feel there was anybody in your group of people that was capable of doing it?
And I think the majority of people said Dylan, based on the fact that he was a big guy.
Detectives take their next step, thoroughly searching Brian, Brianna, and Ryan's apartment.
So they contacted the manager at the apartment complex, and they went to the apartment and checked it out.
Detectives hope it's not too late to find some relevant shred of evidence. Coming up, detectives come upon a shocking new clue.
There was some kind of body that had been buried in that area.
The Federal Way police believe that two of Brian's bandmates, Ryan and Dylan, and Brian's fiancée, Brianna, may know more than they are saying about Brian's disappearance. And now that Ryan has vacated Brian's old apartment, detectives are able to inspect the property for any signs of foul play without a warrant.
When I went to the apartment, we started looking around, just looking for any kind of fresh paint or anything that would show some kind of struggle.
If there was violence, if something happened in the apartment, can we find anything that can connect that? Can we connect the dots in any way?
But the apartment isn't the only place detectives are looking for clues. With more and more suspicion focusing on Dylan and Ryan, police decide to search Dylan's grandmother's property. It's where the band used to practice and where Dylan and Ryan claim to have been on the night of Brian's disappearance.
When I was at the apartment at the same time, Detective Wells and several other detectives were at Dylan's grandma's house just outside of Bellevue.
Detectives bring cadaver dogs to the property, and they're looking for one thing: the body of Brian Barton.
They had dogs, and they were going to search the property, and he would get back to me. I was like panicked.
Dylan can hardly believe what's happening.
I was guilty until proven innocent, you know? I mean, like, everybody had thought that I had done it.
But then, a cadaver dog zeroes in on a patch of ground in the backyard.
The cadaver dog had hit on a site that had been disturbed and recently dug up.
And when a cadaver dog hones in on a specific spot, it usually means one thing.
There was some kind of body that had been buried in that area.
Meanwhile, back at the apartment on Southwest Campus Drive, Detective Laird makes another discovery: a large stain in the carpet.
My initial thought on the stain is that it was possibly blood.
Detective Laird and his partner conduct a quick field test.
And the initial field test did come back positive for blood.
But Detective Laird still needs the Washington State Crime Lab to verify the findings with a more extensive test. If these findings come back positive, they could be the linchpin of the investigation.
I thought, you know, this was going to be something that would tell us if there was some kind of foul play and give us some evidence to start understanding maybe what had happened to Brian.
Detectives now wonder, did bandmates Dylan and Ryan possibly murder Brian Barton in the apartment and bury his body on the property of Dylan's grandmother in Bellevue? Or was there an altercation that resulted in an accidental death, which Dylan, Ryan, and Brianna are now covering up? For Brian's family, the answer could bring even greater despair.
I mean, it's like your worst nightmare. You know, you kind of like try to think about it, and then you're like, okay, no, I'm just gonna wait till I hear from them.
The news also increases the suspicions of Brian's friends.
At first, I didn't think Dylan had anything to do with it, but the fact that the police were involved and had gone to his grandma's house where they practiced with cadaver dogs, it just made me wonder.
The Washington State Mobile Crime Lab tests the carpet, the pad, and the concrete floor of the living room in the apartment. And all three tests come up negative. There is no trace of human blood in the stains.
At that time, it was very frustrating because we weren't able to find any more evidence of any kind of struggle in the apartment.
Meanwhile, police find out that the patch of disturbed earth does contain a body, but not that of Brian Barton.
Our family dog died, and we had buried it in the back, and obviously the cadaver dogs had found or smelled the dog out.
The next day, Maureen follows up with police.
I said, what'd you find? And he goes, oh no, it was a dog. I was like, okay, that's good, but then I still have no answers.
With no more leads to follow, the search for Brian Barton, whether he's dead or alive, goes cold.